Čeká nás poslední přednáška dnešního večera, tak ještě než se do ní pustíme, tak je to tak organizační záležitostí. Po této přednášce vlastně dojde k vylosování vlastně za aktivitu, takže kdo se ještě neptal, a chtěli dosáhnout některou scénu, které jsou tam na stole, tak do přednášce neváhej se zeptat. Nyní vlastně za půl dnešního večera, takže přednáška v angličtině, kdy Kirill bude mluvit na téma deep dive into structural site replace. So it will be about Kirill. He's PhD Storm developer for 1.5 years, maybe 2 now. His main focus is test frameworks, integrations, completion, and structure site. And in his free time, he's developing a PhD Storm plugin, adding a bat and flagging to play the piano. This is Kirill Smelov. Please welcome.
It's me. So, I'm having fun right now. Now will be some specific fun. I will tell you an anecdote. One day I decided to search some specific code pattern, and specific code was a function call with 0 arguments, and to find some deprecated calls. So I used find-it-path facility to that, and I wrote something like this: white space, my function, and couple of parents. And how many of you did this trick at least once, for example? Yeah, it works, it's fast and reliable, but it not find all results. For example, not white space can be in the leading, but another sequence of characters. So I proceed to more advanced, to regular expressions. What do you think about this decision? How many of you love regular expressions? How many of you hate it? Okay, half and a half, as I expected. So I wrote something like this, little cutie. So non-alphabetic character, then my function, and again couple of parents. Then I realized that I forgot about white spaces between parents, so I patched my regular expressions. Then I forgot about this guy, and I again patched my regular expression. And why are you laughing? It looks okay for me, and that's why I love regular expression, because even with some clumsy text, you can find almost any code, except in this case it still doesn't work. And at this point I gave up. I realized that I'm no longer using regular expressions using me. So it seems I have to proceed again another level to more advanced tool. But is there actually a more advanced tool? It turns out that yes, and that's how I found it. First, I used good old find-it-path. Then I proceed to regular expressions. And then I found structural search powered by PHP Storm. And today, basically, we will learn what is it and how we can use this to do some fancy stuff. But first, I will do a quick demo and show you how I can solve the similar task with this tool. And I will perform some obscure steps, and you will basically will not get anything, but it's okay. I will just type my function. By the way, how many of you see this window for at least one time in your life? Okay, it is expected. So I will just type my function, and for example some strange $sign string. I will press this button. I don't know what it do. Then I hit number of zeros, hit find, and voila, it finds basically all that I needed. So let's learn how we can use this and what this actually was. To be able to learn this tool, it will be useful to take a quick look under the hood, how it actually works. Consider these two strings, one basic text, part of PHP source code, and the second one is regular expression. And regular expression is supposed to match this first line. So if we can say that these regular expressions have to match this text if all its logical parts match consequence part of text. So my function is just in regular expression, it's just part of text, so it matches read my function parents matches parents and so on. So all qualifiers should match all text parts. And from this point of view, structural search is the same story, except it matches not text but abstract syntax tree. And abstract syntax tree, you may heard of this term. It built by PHP Storm, and it basically represents your code not as text but as some structure. And we basically build two such trees and match nodes, node by node. And such technique will allow us not only skip white spaces and comments, but do some more advanced techniques like resolving references and using time inference, and we will see how. So back to usage. As you saw, search template, it's actually PHP-based code snippet to search with some tweaks. First, it can contain errors, syntax errors, so you can notice absence of open PHP tag or semicolon, so you can focus on the expression you're searching for. Also, it can and probably should contain variables. Variables is some part of strings surrounded by dollar signs. As you can see, it's in first example A, in second class name and method name, and the second final class and final method. And from these examples we already can have a hint how it works, but basically variables can match identifiers of our source code. So in third case it will match identifiers or some expressions. For example, in first example, variable A will match basically any expression that will be passed as argument. And you can think of variables as quantifiers in regular expressions. So default variable, it's like dot qualifier in regular expression, so it basically matches everything, and it can be patched by constraints, which provides power actually for search template. And we will learn these constraints by examples and then look at some advanced examples. And we will learn these constraints by examples. So let's start with something really simple. Magic method calls. Imagine I want to find for some class all its magic method calls. And something like this. So a method that starts with 2 underscores. To solve this, we can use something called text constraint. Text constraint is basically a simple regular expression constraint. So we already have all power of regular expressions right away as part of some constraint. And as you can see, here we specify for which variable we provide constraint. So in this case, we are searching for any object, and we search for basically a method call of any object, and with such methods that starts with 2 underscores. So this text equals, it's actually regular expressions. Also, these constraints, as any other constraints, actually can be inverted by leading exclamation mark. So by this example, we can, for example, find all of open calls without binary modifier inside string literal as second argument. That's it. Second case, function call with 2 to 3 arguments. So we already tried to find method call with 0 arguments. So now I want to provide a range of possible values. For example, these 2 cases. So array merge with 2 or 3 arguments. To find it, we can use count constraint. So it actually works like you expected. The tweak is that context dependent. So if you, for example, provide count constraint for variables that expected to match argument, it will basically find all function calls with 2 to 3 argument. On the other hand, if you pass it to variables that expected to match an expression inside some conditional if, it will find basically empty if conditions. So in this case, we match all such if conditions with which have no inner expressions at all. We basically have such inspection in PHP Storm. It's called empty body inspection if someone faced it. Also, we can do some tricks. For example, zero infinite pattern, if you can call it. So, for example, we have such pattern, and for before and after variables, we provide count from 0 to infinity. So, by the technique, we made our pattern greedy. So, it will eat all arguments from left and right, and after that, we basically can find all such function calls from which at least one parameter argument satisfies the condition. Third case, field access on potential null object. So consider this code. At the last line, will A be equals to null? Yes or no? What do you think? Yes, we actually don't know. Nobody knows. And PHP Storm doesn't know either. The best we can do at this line is to keep all possible values that A can come up with. So at this point, we keep type of A as my class or null. And this code not looks bulletproof, right? So if A be equals to null, we will get runtime exception. So we are not TypeScript, so we can't check this sadly at compile time. So we will basically run the search before publishing our code, so we will make sure that it has no such errors. How we can do that? We can do that by type constraint. So first things first, PHP Storm for each expression keeps a possible set of types in which expression could get. So for previous example, we will keep my class and null. If we will assign inside if not to null but any other instance, we will keep set of such types. So by using this type, you can basically find all expressions that have at least this type. So, for example, in this case, you can find all uses cast to string because A expected to be type of string. Fully qualified name of classes count as type as well. So, for example, by providing fully qualified name as type for class name, you can find all field reference of all instances of specific class. And as I said earlier, nullability can be specified within type as well. So you can just write type equals null for class and find all such expressions that plays a role of class reference that can be potentially null. And then we can do the check. All right. Last case, but not least, sounds complex. Error reporting call is argument different from special constant. So how many of you familiar with standard library function error reporting in PHP? So it's not so tough. It's basically a standard library that expected as argument one of specific constants specified in standard library. So any other arguments discouraged. So we want to find, for example, these cases. So some 2, what does it mean, or another constant, constant, we don't want to find that. And to find such tricky case, first we have to learn some theory. Consider this code. In this code, we're defining some constant and printing it on the string. So in this code, as a defined statement, let's define something called declaration. As declaration, we will call for simplicity, basically introducing on something in our code. Variable, constant, use statement, basically import, and so on. So it's declaration, the whole statement. On the other hand, argument of echo is reference. Reference is expression, some expression, so it can be field reference, variables, scalar field access, so on. Expression that can be resolved to declaration, and resolve is process of finding declaration from reference. So in this case, argument of echo, my constant, will be reference, and it will be resolved to declaration, which is defined statement. And by using such terms, we can utilize reference constraint. So how we can solve our task and find such calls? First, we define first template. We will define template that matches declarations of such specific constants. So if we remembered such error, warning, and so on. So we will just find such declarations and save this by name. Save this template. We can do it by some name. For example, error reporting constant definition. We just save this. After that, we create a second template, which find all error reporting calls, and we specify for argument reference constraint, which will stand for negation of such reference constraint. And that's what will happen when such template will do the search. It first will find all error reporting function calls, and then it will filter its arguments by references. And then it will resolve all references in source code, and resolve declarations will be matched against first template. So this is recursive basically. And if all of this succeed, it will result true. So in first template there might be another inner template and so on. So you can build as deep structures as you want to. So it was bread and butter of our tool. Let's have a look at practice. What can we use? And I will do this in some sense of live coding. So let's find a couple of cases. First one will be simple. For example, I have such class and basically project, and I want to find all such method definitions in any class that have more than 4 parameters, but not constructors, because constructors can. So how can I do that? I will basically invoke search structurally, this window as we saw, and I will do the following. First, I will type the expression I want to find. So public function, any method, or some method, I guess. And in parents, I will type param. And for param, I will specify constraint, and I will specify count constraint. So I will hit count and specify from 4 to infinity. And such pattern already will find basically all methods with more than 4 parameters. But we won't find all but not constructors. So we provide another constraint. In this time it will be provided on some method. So we will select some method, add text constraint, and we will say that text should be not construct. And after that we can press find and basically find the single one, method 4. So and we can search this template and run it on our project. Let's consider another example. For example, unreachable statement. So we will mimic unreachable statement part of unreachable statement inspection, and we want to find all such loops that have unconditional returns as one of statements. So this looks interesting, right? So this one will never be executed, and I think there is a bug. So we want to find such basically loops. To find that, we again will invoke search structurally, and in this case we will find for each basically any array, because any array has any key, any, I don't know, key, because name doesn't matter. And after that we will do 0 infinite. So we will type code before, we will type code after, and we will type return argument. And we will provide some constraints. So for code before, we will provide constraints from 0 to infinity, because return can be as first as last. It not matters. So for code after, the same thing as 0 to infinity. And for argument, we will provide from 0 to 1, because we want to find as empty returns and that with argument as well. And after we will find, it will find 4 for each statement, and will not find 5th. And I guess last example, this one. So I will do it like this. So array additions in PHP is controversial theme. So it can work in an unexpected way, and some may think that maybe array merge is better. And I basically want to find arrays additions. So array plus array to find it, and I will do this before, for example, commit or push, and or do massive code migration to better code style. So I will type, for example, first argument, first operand, I guess, plus second operand, and I will provide type constraints for each of such operands. So for that one I will type basically array, and the same one for the second. So array, and it will find a couple of ones. And search is cool, but what is more cool than search is actually search and replace. And feature code structure search and replace. So we can automatically not only find, but replace our templates, some sort of migrations. And we can use this by the similar action called replace structurally. It works exactly like search structurally, but we can provide replace template which will capture the captured variables. And for this case I will just type array merge like this. And with such replace template I will migrate all my arrays additions to array merge, and I will do this in batch in my project. And to move this idea even further, I can not only do this by hand, but automatically via providing my specific inspections that I want to. To do that I will go to inspections. We will find special inspection called structure search inspection. It's already built in PHP Storm. I will enable it. And basically what this inspection does, it allows you to provide your own structure search template in this inspection, and basically replace patterns if you want to. And it will highlight and do all inspection job actually. So you can just add this. So I already added additional arrays, and after I will press OK, my code already will be yellow. And if I will type it again, it instantly will highlight it to me. This is first thing. It will it will show the message that I typed. So not only for me, but for example for my team members or another colleagues. And the third thing, it will provide quick fix. So pretty cool, huh? And you basically can share such inspections in your team via XML workspace.id default file, and basically push it to version control system. And once all of your colleagues will pull the repository, the code instantly will turn yellow. So imagine the case when some new new developer come in and you again and again explain the same conventions that your team follow. Don't do that, do like that. Don't do that, do like that. And it works so funny with my Russian accent, but it's actually sad. We are wasting time, and you can just for once provide such inspections and say it to new developer. Don't commit code if it's yellow, and he will learn just in the editor. So you can provide not only additional arrays but some explanation why it's bad, and actually you can fix your code, his code for him. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirill. We have 3 questions so far. The first one is, how about performance tests? For instance, on what size of application you have performance issues?
Okay, since this tool is basically general, so it can find all expressions, performance is slightly worse than specific inspections that we write by our hand in PHP Storm. But we used structural search in our team as well, and it's okay. So we use this and don't suffer.
Thanks. Another question from Spiceso. In your for each example, how would you expand your search for loops with key values, such for each array as key is value?
I will just type search. I will just type search structurally, and I will have this in my. I can just type any value, and it will match any value as well. So that's all.
I hope that satisfies you. Do you have statistics? How often do you use structural search instead of classic ways of search?
We have statistic is general term, but if I'm not mistaken, we have, for example, 20 such templates in our project running constantly.
Thanks. Another question from Broky. Is this search pattern plugin compatible with PHP Storm only, or is usable for other JetBrains products and other languages too? As example, IntelliJ, IDEA.
It's usable for other JetBrains products too.
Yeah, thanks. From Anonymous, does it work?
The same question, basically.
Yeah.
Not only PHP.
How can you use array merge replace for expressions with any number of operands instead of just 2?
So basically that's how it should work. So first of all, you can, for example, as first operand, for example, provide as count, I guess, several multiple numbers, for example, for 1 to 3, and maybe it should match the whole thing, but now it's not working, and it can work like that, but now it's not working. If you have necessity of that, please file a ticket and we will perform something on this.
Okay. Thank you. And from the Felix, can we call this structural search and replace from command line? It might be useful for upgrade paths.
No.
No.
Sorry.
No other questions on Slido. Do you have any questions in public?
Kirill, thank you for your presentation. I have one question. What's behind the technology when all of us now with loading icon with indexing text? And what's the technology behind some Elasticsearch, SQLite? Yeah.
What's the technology behind indexing? It's actually built-in map and reduce storage. So basically, we have I can perform extended answer if nobody in hurry. So we basically represent, as I said earlier, each expression as let me find this as tree, not so fancy, not so colorful, but still, we in some way serialize such trees in something called stubs. So for function call we will remember its name, its arguments and so on, and such serialized information we will put on disk on HDD or SSD, and after that we will on the nesting. This is basically indexing, so it's building a tree from source code, serializing this tree and saving it to disk. So when at the second time you will type go to class, or for example, I don't know, just highlight this like this, so we don't have to open corresponding file, build tree again, and traverse it. We can just basically get it from cache. So it's basically indexing.
Thanks. Any other question? Seems like there is no other question, so thank you, Kirill.